Gypsy Tales, story number 14. A Bottle of Brains. Once, and not too long ago, there lived a fool who wanted to buy a bottle of brains because he was tired of being laughed at and tired of getting into trouble because of his foolishness. He was told that he'd be able to get what he was looking for from an old gypsy woman who lived up on a hill. She dealt in potions and herbs and spells and things. So the fool asked his mother if he should go out and seek the gypsy woman and buy a bottle of brains. "That you should do," answered his mother. "You're sorely in the need of some brains. But mind your manners when you speak to the gypsy, for gypsies are easily displeased." So off went the fool right to the top of the hill. There he found the gypsy sitting by a fire and stirring a big pot. "Good evening, ma'am," said he. "It's a fine night." "That it is," replied the old gypsy as she continued stirring. "Maybe it'll rain," said the fool nervously, shuffling from one foot to the other. "Maybe," replied the gypsy. "But maybe it won't," said he. "Maybe not," she said. And he scratched his head and twisted his hat, so embarrassed was he to ask about the brains. "Well," said the fool at last, "we have talked about the weather. Let's talk about the crops. They're getting on fine." "Fine," said she. "And the beasts are getting fat." "They are," she replied with a smile. "Well, I guess I've done enough polite talking," said the fool. "Now let's talk business. Have you any brains to sell?" "That depends," replied the gypsy. "If you want a king's brains or a soldier's brains or a teacher's brains, the answer is no. I don't keep those." "Oh no," said the fool. "I just want ordinary brains, fit for anyone, the kind that everybody else has." "Well, I may be able to help you with that," said the gypsy, "but you'll have to do something for me." "And what might that be?" "Bring me the one thing you like best in the world, and then I'll tell you where to get a bottle of brains." "But how can I do that?" said the fool, completely puzzled. "That's not for me to say. Find out for yourself, lad, but when you bring me that thing, I'll have to ask you a riddle. Only in that way will I be able to tell you if you have brought me the right thing." The fool returned to his home and told his mother what the wise gypsy woman had said. "Then do as she asks," advised the lad's mother. "Certainly it will be good for you to buy some brains. Then you'd be the same as everybody else." "I guess I'll have to bring a pig," said the fool. "I like bacon more than anything else in the world." The next day he visited the wise old gypsy again. This time she was sitting in the rocking chair, leafing through a large book. "Good evening, ma'am," said the fool. "I've done what you told me to do. Here's a pig, my very favorite object." "Is that really the thing you like best?" asked the old gypsy woman. "Then give me the answer to this riddle. What can run although it has no feet?" The lad scratched his head and thought and thought and thought, but he couldn't think of an answer. "Be off then," said the woman. "Since you can't answer the riddle, I know you haven't brought me the right item. I've no brains for you today." And she slammed the great book shut and turned her back on him. Very disappointed, the fool returned to his home and told his mother what had taken place. Suddenly he slapped his hands together with great enthusiasm. "Now I know what the old lady meant," he said. "I just didn't understand her correctly at first. It is you, mother, I like best in the whole world. You'll have to come with me tomorrow so that I'll be able to buy the bottle of brains." The next day, mother and son set out for the home of the old gypsy. "Good evening, ma'am," said the fool. "This time I've surely brought you the right thing." "We'll find out soon enough," replied the old woman. "Tell me this. What is yellow and shines though it isn't gold?" The fool scratched his head and thought and thought and thought, but he couldn't think of an answer. "Well, obviously you still haven't brought me the right thing, lad, so I can't help you. But indeed, I can see now that you really could use that bottle. You're an even bigger fool than I thought." "That's true," moaned the lad. As he descended the hill with his mother, he met a young girl. "Why are you so unhappy, fool?" she asked. And he explained to her what had happened. "That's very bad," said the girl. "And there's no one to help you?" she asked. "No one," groaned the fool. "Well, I'll help you and take care of you," she said. "Really, really?" asked the fool. Why not? Replied the girl. People say that fools make good husbands. Can you cook? Asked the fool. That I can. And sew? Yes. Well then, let's get married, said the fool. But what about the bottle of brains? As long as you have me to look after you, it doesn't really matter whether you get that bottle or not. That's true, he said, and off they went to get married. The young bride kept the house so clean and so neat and cooked so well that one evening the fool said, Wife, it is you that I like best in all of the world. Why don't you come with me to the wise old woman up on the hill? Maybe I'll still be able to get that bottle of brains. The next morning they walked up the hill together. Good morning, ma'am, said the fool. I've brought you what I like best in all the world. You'll find out soon enough, replied the gypsy. Tell me, what runs without feet? And his wife whispered in his ear, Water, said the fool. And what is yellow and shines, though it isn't gold? Asked the gypsy. Again his wife whispered into his ear. Why, the sun, said the fool. Can you tell me what has no legs at first, then 2 legs, and ends up with 4? The fool thought and thought and thought. When he couldn't answer this question, his wife whispered into his ear for the 3rd time. A tadpole, said the fool. That's right, said the gypsy. I can see that you have a bottle of brains already. And where is that bottle? Asked the fool. In your wife's head, laughed the gypsy. The only cure for a fool is to find a good wife to look after him. That you have done, so be off. The fool and his wife went home together. Never again did he think about buying any brains, for his wife had enough for the 2 of them. End of story number 14. End of Gypsy Tales.